In the last video, we covered all the three areas underneath the Webmaster Guidelines: general design, the technical, and the quality guidelines that Google gives webmasters in building websites. In this quick video, we're going to go through how to create a Google-friendly site. So Google tells you exactly what to do and what not to do in order to rank high in their search engines. All of the on-page optimization. What I mean by that is everything that needs to be done on your specific website, on the actual website, in order to get it to rank high. Google tells you what to do. They say, here's the things to do. Give visitors the information that they're looking for. You need to provide high quality content on your pages, especially your home page. Now, a lot of people say, I don't want my home page to go below the fold, and what that means by that is below the fold is below the bottom of the browser. So it's if you're at 1024 by 768 resolution, typically a lot of designers are going to go, well, we're only going to build the home page to be 750 pixels deep because we don't want our design, we don't want the user to have to scroll down. Well, if you don't want the user to have to scroll down, and you're going to use a bunch of pretty banners and headers on your home page, you may not have a lot of room for a bunch of relevant content, high quality content, when Google's telling you to put it on your home page. So it says here, this is the most single important thing to do. So it says, if your pages contain useful information, their content will attract many visitors and entice webmasters to link to your site. In creating a helpful, information-rich site, you want to write pages that clearly and accurately describe your topic. Think about the words that users would type to find your pages and include those words on your site. Again, we talked about this in the Webmaster Guidelines. This is quite possibly one of the most powerful things you can do. First is you want to have contextually relevant content, high quality content on your pages. It says especially on your home page. This is the single most important thing you can do. So this whole notion of, I don't want the user to scroll down in order to have to read what's on my home page. Well, it's okay to put the big call to action at the top of the page, but go do a real quick search in Google for top 100 websites, and or go to compete.com or Alexa, just do a search for top 100 websites on the internet and go to each one of them and see which ones are deeper than 768 pixels. I would positively say that all of them are deeper than 768 pixels. So this notion that your home page shouldn't go below the fold, and my personal opinion is that it's nonsense. The reality is that Google's saying, give me your best stuff on the home page so I can tell that your site is going to be the most high quality content for users, and I'm going to apt to be ranking you higher. So it also says, think about the words that users would type to find your pages and include those words on your site. Now, the interesting thing about this is, think about the words that users would type to find on your pages. It doesn't say your page. So you want to be taking your entire site into consideration when you're doing this. So are you going to be optimizing a specific page for a specific keyword? Nothing wrong with that. Make sure you have it in the title tag. Make sure you have the keyword in the URL. Make sure you have the keyword in the H1 tag and the H2. Make sure you have related keywords throughout the body of that page. And ideally, you're going to want to even have keywords in the navigation. The anchor text that leads to other pages in your navigation, have the keywords there, as long as it makes sense to have them there. So you also want to make sure that other sites link to yours. Links help Google's crawlers find your site, and they can give your site greater visibility in the search engines, obviously. So when returning results for a search, it says Google uses sophisticated text matching techniques to display pages that are both important and relevant to each search. Google interprets a link from point A to page B as a vote by page A for page B. So vote cast by pages that are themselves important way more heavily and help make the other pages important. Keep in mind that their algorithms can distinguish natural links from unnatural links. And so they go on to define natural links to your site develop as part of the dynamic nature of the web when other sites find your content valuable and think it would be helpful for their visitors. Now, what does that mean? That means that someone, let's say I have a blog and I write a blog about, I have an automotive blog, let's say, and I write about everything automotive. and I come across a blog post of yours where you had an experience with your, Ford F-150, and you solved a problem regarding your Ford F-150, I might think that that's really relevant content to my users on my automotive blog, so I might actually link to that article because it's good content. That's what a natural link would be. They go on to say that unnatural links to your site are placed there specifically to make your site look more popular to search engines. Some of these types of links, such as link schemes and doorway pages, they cover them in the Webmaster Guidelines. In the last video, we covered those in pretty good detail. Only natural links are useful for indexing and ranking of your site. You want to make your site accessible, it says. You want to build your site with a logical link structure. Every page should be reachable from at least one static text link. Now, it doesn't say that every page should be reachable from the home page of your website. It says that every page should be reachable from at least one static text link. Now, what does that mean? That means that if you have a sitemap that has a static text link that links to every page on the site, that's sufficient. You want to use a text browser such as Lynx to examine your site. Most spiders see your site as Lynx would. And so if you've ever seen what a website looks like using a Lynx browser, it doesn't see the JavaScript and the cookies and all this other stuff, or even the Flash files. All it sees is the text on the page. So if features it says such as JavaScript, cookies, session IDs, frames, DHTML, or Micromedia Flash keep you from seeing your entire site in a text browser, then the spiders are going to have trouble crawling it. And so this is the whole thing when people say, don't have a Flash site. If you have, your Flash, if your website is built in Flash, technically it's invisible to the search engines, and you're going to have a hard time getting that site to rank. And so here's things to avoid. Don't fill your page with lists of keywords. This keyword stuffing 101, obviously, it doesn't make any sense. It's not natural, and they figured that out on how not to rank your site, and folks that do that. Don't attempt to cloak pages or put up crawler-only pages. If your site contains pages, links, or text that you don't intend visitors to see. So what I mean by that is you can have a hidden directory in your in your hosting account that's got 100 pages of content in it regarding a specific topic, but it's really kind of junky content, and it sits there in this little hidden directory, and the only link to that directory is sitting on your sitemap and nowhere else. When 99% of visitors don't navigate a website through the sitemap, you could put a link to that directory in there, and then all of a sudden the spiders are going to start to index all this junk content. That's what they're suggesting, obviously telling you not to do there. They say here, don't feel obligated to purchase the search engine optimization services. Some companies claim to guarantee quote-unquote high ranking for your site in Google search results. While legitimate consulting firms can improve your site's flow and content, others employ deceptive tactics in an attempt to fool the search engines. They said, be careful if your domain is affiliated with one of these deceptive services, could be banned from our index. So if you've got, clearly there's ways to game the system, if you will, and those tend to be, and they know what those are. These aren't a secret. I mean, you've got these link schemes and the doorway pages, and in fact, people, cloaking pages and things like this, where there's one tiny little link to a directory that's just bogus content. So be mindful of that. Don't use images to display important names, content, or links. The crawler doesn't recognize text contained in graphics, so even if you have a keyword laid over a graphic, it's not going to make any difference if that text is actually part of the graphic. You want to use the alt attribute if the main content and the keywords on your page can't be formatted into regular HTML. So you definitely want to be using the alt tag on all of your images. It used to be that the alt tag carried a lot of weight necessarily when it came to reading a keyword on a website. Now it's more importantly to create accessible web pages for people with disabilities. So when their page reader goes through the code and views it, much like the Lynx browser is going to, it's going to read them back and say, oh, here's an image, and it's going to tell that user what that is an image of. So it's important to don't keyword stuff your images. You want to be very descriptive in your alt tag, and there's another reason for that too, is because your images will get indexed by Google Images. So if your alt tag is very descriptive, if the file name of the image is very descriptive of what it is, these are two factors that can help your images rank fairly well in Google Images. Now the relevancy of that is that depending upon the keyword market and depending upon the actual keyword that you possibly rank for, you can get your images to rank for high in Google. Obviously, you've seen image search results at the top. So make sure the file name is relevant and make sure that the alt tag is relevant. And the reward for that is the potential for your image to rank high on the first page of Google for a given keyword via the image results that you'll see at the top of the page. Don't create multiple copies of pages under different URLs. Many sites offer text-only or printer-friendly versions of pages that contain the same content as the corresponding graphic-rich page. If your site has identical content that can be reached via different URLs, there are several ways of indicating canonical preferred versions of a page. Typically, you're not going to have an issue with that. You want to make sure that your www you have your domain set up correctly. So if you go to your domain registrar, make sure that your URL without the www points to the www dot whatever, or vice versa. You want to make sure that you're not because those are in effect two different locations on the internet. Your domain name with www and your domain name without it are in effect two different locations. So when it comes to canonicalization, you want to make sure that one points to the other and that you're strictly using that specific URL when you're promoting your website, so to speak, and creating pages and what have you. So I hope that was helpful. And because Google tells you exactly what the things that you need to do and things that you should not do in order to get your site to rank. Thanks.